What if you could capture images of a stunning sea arch bathed in golden sunset light and the fiery glow of lava under the stars, all in one epic national park adventure? Hey, I'm Ed Aldridge, a passionate photographer who's chased these iconic shots in Hawaii's Volcanoes National Park. In this video, we'll unlock the secrets to photographing the Holei Sea Arch at sunset and Kilauea's lava glow at night. You'll see how to capture these images as I guide you step by step through planning, techniques, and pro edits to finish them effortlessly in DXO PhotoLab 9. Let's get to it. All right, today's park is Hawaii's Volcanoes National Park. Went there over the Christmas holidays and had a fantastic time. There is a lot to see and do at this park. I would plan on at least 2 days. We were able to see a lot on the first day, but going back the second day for at least half a day was very good. I highly recommend checking out the Sea Arch and checking out the everything around the crater is amazing, whether it's during the middle of the day or at night with the glow of the lava. It's really spectacular. This park is probably best seen at day and at night. There's a lot of parks out there where daytime is all you need, but this one you need to go day and night. I'm going to go through a whole bunch of information you need to know, all the basics for the park itself and your trip there, and some safety stuff, how to take these photos, and logistically, how to kind of go and get your day in the right pattern so that you hit these two spots with minimal time in between. So this works out really good. If you just wanted to go take the Sea Arch and the volcano, the glow at night, you could literally just a half a day hit. Well, when I say half a day, let's just say 4 hours. Go to the Sea Arch, then drive, after you get done with that at sunset, then drive back to the crater and photograph that. And you can get both these shots in, say, a 4-hour period. It's all spectacular. Highly, highly recommend you guys go to this one. All right, let's start with the foundation. Planning your trip to Hawaii's Volcanoes National Park. First, general prep. You'll have a $30 vehicle entry fee, no special permits for basic photography, but drones are prohibited. The visitor center is in the process of being renovated, and there is a temporary visitor center set up at the KMC about 1 mile down the road. Pack layers for cool evenings, plenty of water, a flashlight or a headlamp, and sturdy shoes. Download the MPS app for maps and real-time alerts. The park's great year-round, but January has less crowds. Volcanic hazards like fumes and unstable ground are a real issue, so be careful. As of December 2025, Kilauea is erupting occasionally. So view from the safe spots like Yucca. I'm sure I'm going to butcher these, so be kind. Yukahana Bluff and Kina'akaua Overlook. I'm sure that those were not quite right. I'll show a picture on a map. Always check USGS volcano updates, as eruptions can pause but resume quickly. I suggest you visit the Sea Arch first for sunset and then head to the Kina'akaua Overlook for the lava glow. Some common mistakes. Never hike off trail. You'll face fines and real danger. And pack bug spray and sunscreen. For the Sea Arch sunset, head down to Holei Sea Arch at the end of Chain of Craters Road. It's about a 20 to 30 minute drive from the visitor center. Arrive 1 to 2 hours before sunset, around 4 to 5 p.m. in December of 2025, with sunset at 5:55 to 6 p.m. This timing gives you golden light behind the arch for silhouettes and vibrant skies. Avoid harsh midday sun. For lava glow at night, you're going to use overlooks like Yukahana Bluff and Kina'akaua Overlook. Go after full dark, 7 to 9 p.m. Nighttime lets the orange-red glow stand out against the dark sky. Pick clear nights for stars, too. Visit the Sea Arch in late afternoon, then drive back for lava. The park's open 24/7, so there's no rush. Plan 1 to 2 days so you have multiple opportunities to get a great photo. Moving on to gear. Keep it simple but effective for these shots. Remember, you'll be hiking, so take lighter equipment. Your camera, a DSLR or mirrorless works best, with a wide zoom like a 24 to 120 or a wide angle prime lens like a 28mm for wider views of the scene, and a telephoto like a 100 to 400 to zoom in on details. I used all three and got different shots with each one, and they were all spectacular. Must-haves: a sturdy tripod for night stability, polarizing filters to cut glare, an ND filter to reduce light, extra batteries, and a rain cover for unpredictable weather. Some apps you might want to download: Photo Pills for precise sun and Milky Way positions and timing, the MPS app, and of course the USGS volcanoes for eruption alerts. Now the fun part: nailing that sunset sea arch shot. Okay, here's the setup. You're going to hike the short trail from the parking area to the viewpoint and frame the arch. Use the rule of thirds. Place the arch off center. There will likely be spray from the waves blowing up and over the edge, making for a very dramatic image. As the sun starts to get low in the sky, the mist will start to get the yellow-orange color of the sun. The scene can be good for two distinct looks: freeze the water with fast shutter speed and blur it with a slow shutter speed. Do both and you will have two very different shots. Exposure tips: use f8 or f11. These are usually a lens's sweet spot for sharpness and less prone to chromatic aberrations. Make sure you have the ISO at your camera's base ISO, usually 100. Aperture priority works well in this scenario, as does manual. Focus about 1/3 of the way into the image, i.e. the first group of rocks sticking out from the between you and the arch in the viewing area. The depth of field at f8 and f11 will be adequate to ensure enough is in focus. To slow down the shutter for a blurred water effect, change the ISO to one of the extended ISOs. My Nikon Z8 will go down to ISO 32. Then you can stop the lens down as far as it will go, i.e. f22 or smaller. I was able to get down to 1 second shutter speeds with ISO 32 and f36. ND filter will allow you to slow it way down as well. Unfortunately, I left my 10-stop ND at the house. Using a 10-stop will enable you to get really slow shutter speeds, like 10 to 20 seconds, turning the water into silk. Creative techniques. Try long exposures of 1 to 5 seconds with an ND filter for silky smooth water effects, or go for bold silhouettes against the fiery sunset sky. I'll show you a quick way to enhance your sunset in the post-processing section. Common mistakes to avoid: skip weekends to dodge crowds, and always watch for rogue waves. Safety over the shot. Shifting to nighttime magic: the lava glow in the crater. Park in the parking lot for Devastation Trail. It will be crowded. Put on your headlamp and walk down the old crater rim drive until you see the dirt path on the right. There are traffic cones and markers, and it is taped off so you can't leave the trail. Carefully go down the path. It is wide and there will be other people there as well. The end is roped off for your safety. Stay behind the rope. If your headlamp has a red light, now is the time to turn it on. Set up your tripod and put your camera into Astro mode or Starlight mode, if it has it. This will keep your eyes adjusted and assist you in focusing with live view. Frame the shot to include the volcano glow and the night sky. The Photo Pills app can help you identify where the Milky Way will appear in the shot. It will not always be visible, but the app can tell you by date and help you plan your trip. Set your camera to aperture priority mode, ISO to 3200, and your aperture to its widest setting. Now use manual focus and live view to get critical focus. Now set your camera to self-timer mode and take a photo. The stars may have motion in them depending on how slow the shutter speed was and the focal length used. A good rule of thumb to calculate your shutter speed is to use this formula. For a full frame camera, 500 divided by the focal length equals the shutter speed in seconds. For example, 500 divided by 28mm equals 17.85 seconds. That would be your shutter speed to minimize star movement. So if we were using a crop sensor, it'd be the same formula, except you would multiply the crop factor times the lens's focal length. So if we were using a 20 millimeter lens, we would multiply that times 1.5 and then divide that, or divide 500 by that, and that would equal 16.66 seconds. You may need to increase your ISO to get the shutter speed in range. From the overlook, frame the crater so the glow is in the frame. Use wide angle for overall context or zoom in for dramatic lava fountains if active. Exposure tips. The tripod is non-negotiable here. You need it. You want to use your ISOs should be between 800 and 5000. And this is all going to depend on your camera and your lens combination and the environment factors, like how bright the night sky is, how bright the lava is. You get the idea. Use live view to nail focus. Some creative techniques. If you're patient, try star trails in bulb mode for say 10 to 20 minutes. Layer multiple exposures for better dynamic range. Got your raws? Let's polish them in DXO PhotoLab 9 for pro level results. Okay, here is one of the images we're going to edit. Now, if we do a compare, this is what it looks like coming out of camera. It's very flat. I keep it on a flat profile. And it was a great sunset, nice and orange, and with all the mist coming over the rocks and everything, we made it for a very dramatic photo. Basically, I've done very little to this image. This is the default DXO conversion first. So if we go here, that's what it looks like. DXO pretty much come out with this. Now if we go here, you can see that's intensity for smart lighting is at 15, and Clearview Plus, the intensity is at 10. Those are the default settings. So it just made the minimal color corrections to make it as if it was an in-camera JPEG. But yeah, that's how I like to say it with DXO. It gives you that internally when you bring it into DXO, it puts an edit on it that's going to be very conservative and look like it's one of the JPEGs that would come out of the camera. So nothing's really been done by me on this page. On the color page, I have made a couple of changes here. One is the rendering. I got it on, it would normally come out like this, natural. I've got it on vibrant, or vivid rather. If you go to vibrant, because of something else I've done in color, it makes it way too orange. So that's why it's on vivid, because I don't want it to be, the orange to jump out and, be in your face, It's so I keep it on vivid. And then if we go down here to the HSL, all I've done is selected orange and brought the saturation up just a little and the luminance up just a little. Okay, and that gives it the luminance, gives it more glow in the from the sun back here, and the saturation is just giving it that more orange color. One thing that I do, and a lot of people do, especially like sports and motorsport photographers, when they go and they're shooting a race at sunset, like say a 24-hour endurance race, for white balance, they will set the color, instead of like ash shot or whatever daylight, they'll set it to either cloudy or shade, which will enhance the sunset really quickly in camera if you need to do that. Here I'm going to keep it as shot because we used the other method to enhance the sunset a little bit more. When we get over here to this tab, to the noise tab, because this was shot at a low ISO, we're just leaving it at standard. Now this particular one was shot at a higher shutter speed, at 1/250th of a second shutter speed. So you can see the water's frozen, and it's very frozen in time kind of image. But there's other images that we have that are longer shutters. So let's look at this one right here. Shows a lot more foreground, and this has a much longer shutter speed. This is 1 full second, and this is at ISO 32 and f/36. So stop down as far as that lens can go. And if you look down here, you can see the mist from the spray of the water and everything. 1 second, 2 second is more than enough to get water blur. If you want to use like a 10 stopper, that will give you, 10 to 20 seconds, which will just turn it into just where it looks just like silk. So just a option to think about. Now on this particular one, there wasn't a whole lot done either. It's still at the default on smart lighting, default on clear view. Not a lot changed here, no contrast really added. And we go over here, we're at vivid. If we go up to vibrant, that's just way too much. Vivid looks good. It actually might be a little bit too much. Natural don't look bad either. So we'll put it on natural. And then down here with the orange, we could, let me zero this back. All right, so we could take the saturation up or down, just depending on where we want it. Obviously too much is too much. In photo editing, less is more. So that don't look half bad. And then we'll add some luminance to kind of give it bloom, for the sun. You don't need to add much, just a little bit. And it just gives you a little more bloom and glowy look around the sunspot there. So that's that image. Now we'll jump back over here to this image, and it's the same basic thing on this one. We're not changing a whole lot. This is the way that DXO brought it in and manipulated it. So if we look at it, the smart lighting is still at 15 at the default. And I mean, we can play with it. You take it down a little bit or up a little bit more. I mean, it gives you some, some variation. So that's just a personal preference. I normally, I kind of like the default on this one. But I did change the Clearview Plus. Okay, and if you go to Clearview Plus, and if we go back to the default, which is 10, that don't look bad at all. And then, but I had it up at 24, which is where I found it to look a little bit better because it gave a little more detail. You could see the Milky Way a little bit better. So I also adjusted the highlights down a little bit because this lava glow right here was just a little too intense. So I just pulled it back a little bit. And then over here, we've got vibrant. Vivid don't look bad, and natural don't look bad. Like I say, this is all personal preference. I think I'm going to go with the vibrant still. And then down here, you could change some of the colors if you wanted to. Like if you think this is just too reddish orange, you could go through and modify that if you wanted to. I'm not going to do it. I like it just the way it is. And then this one, because it was shot at ISO 5000, I have the Deep Prime XD2S selected to take out some of the noise. And it's doing a fine job of it. And that's pretty much it. So very, very easy. DXO allows you to do a lot of images as soon as you open them up. So, and then you just have to go through and fine tune them, which compared to some of the other products out there where you have to ingest and add them to the catalog, and then go through and set your basic edit, and before you can even start fine tuning. I find this to be a lot faster, and in editorial work, faster is what you want. So kudos to DXO. Use the code EdAldridge15 to get 15% off any DXO software when trying PhotoLab 9 or other DXO tools. To recap, we've discussed planning for optimal times, essential gear, sunset sea arch techniques, nighttime lava glow techniques, and DXO PhotoLab 9 edits to finish your photos. Hit like if you're inspired, subscribe for more park guides, and share your shots in the comments.